Welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast, your backstage pass to the mystical realm. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and here, gifted souls step up to the mic sharing their spiritual journey. We're hitting the high notes and the low notes of their awakening, creating a symphony of enlightenment. This isn't just another interview show. This is where divine insights are channeled and universal truths are revealed. So crank up your stereo and sit back, because who knows, this just might help you compose the next transformative chapter of your soul's purpose. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and I'm so happy you all decided to join us. Have you ever seen someone on a television show get hypnotized and do something embarrassing? Like out of nowhere, they just start walking around clucking like a chicken? Or maybe you thought you were just way too smart to be hypnotized. That person could never do something like that. Well, joining us today is Lynnsey Robinson, a certified hypnotherapist, and a whole lot more, as we'll discover on today's episode. Lynnsey's going to shed some light on hypnotherapy, specifically spiritual hypnotherapy and past life regressions. So let's jump on in. Welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast, Lynnsey.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Excellent. I am too. And we're just going to hop on into this and get to it. So what exactly is hypnotherapy, and maybe what isn't it?
Well, hypnotherapy is a process of using hypnosis to help people thrive. So whatever that means for the client, whether it's, opening to more money, reception, opening to a relationship, stopping a bad habit that they don't want to have anymore, anything that's in your mind really that's kind of holding you back or that you feel might be holding you back, hypnotherapy is really great for going in and helping you to teach your subconscious mind what is safe. So I would say the only reason you have limiting beliefs is because that's what your subconscious believes is safe for you. And it may not make sense, and it probably doesn't to your conscious mind. But the main job of your subconscious is to keep you alive. And so whatever you learned along the way, maybe it's an experience you had or something that was put on you as a belief, is kind of what your subconscious is going off of as to the program that's keeping you alive. And so if there's a disconnect between what it knows and what you feel is reflective of your authentic self, then that's where you would call a hypnotherapist or do some maybe self-hypnosis to help you kind of rewire some of that stuff that just isn't serving you and that maybe had an expiration date, but your subconscious doesn't know expiration dates. So that's where we kind of go into
Throw that out.
Yeah. It just, if it worked once, then it'll work forever. That's the logic of the subconscious. So I can tell you kind of how, if you want, I can go into how the subconscious is formed and why we have stuff in there that maybe doesn't make sense.
Sure, because I know along with the subconscious is the superconscious. So let's talk about that.
So I'll go over kind of how the subconscious is formed first, and then we can get into the really good stuff. So the basics of the subconscious really is, if everyone can just kind of pretend for a moment, just visualize a circle as your mind. So when you're born, babies are born with the fear of loud noises, the fear of falling, and the fight or flight response, which some people call the primitive mind or the lizard brain, that reactive response. Right. And that's it. So everything after that is a learned behavior, which is kind of good news because anything that's learned can be unlearned. Now, along with that, you have your reflexes, you have your breathing, your blinking, your digestion, all the things you don't have to think about. But as you're going through life as a child, as a baby, and getting older, you are kind of taking in everything as true because you don't really have anything to go against it yet. You don't really have discernment, if you will. And so that's why they say kids are sponges. Because they really are. They're taking in everything. Yeah. Everything. Everything. And
like it or not, right?
Like it or not, yeah. They're very observant. That's what they're here for, to observe and to learn. And so once you hit around 7 to 9, 7 to 10, there's a disagreement on the actual age, and everybody's different. But around that age, you get what's called the critical filter or the critical mind, which acts as the barrier or the go-between for the newly formed conscious and the subconscious mind. So around 9 years old is right when your subconscious kind of gets separate from the conscious. Now, what lives in the conscious is your logic, your decision-making skills, your reasoning, your analytical skills, your willpower, and again, your logic. So that's where you get discernment. That's where you get like, well, I don't really know if this is true. Let me think about it for a long time. But in the subconscious now is all the knowns that you know to be true about yourself. So some things you know and some things you don't know. Some things are conscious to you, things that are true about you, like you might dislike green beans but love broccoli, or your preferences or experiences that you had, emotions. That's all stuff that we can point to and be like, yeah, that's true for me. Things you may not know about or may need help bringing up, or maybe don't even notice until it's very prevalent to you, is maybe some money stuff. So for instance, this is such a common one, but like if your parents said, we can't afford that, or money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard to get any money kind of thing, it will usually inevitably set up some certain beliefs that you may have about money. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It's just what you know to be true, what your subconscious has taken in as fact. And so anything that you want that goes outside of what your subconscious knows to be true, can be very difficult if your subconscious doesn't feel like it's safe. An unknown is just as powerful of a danger as a known threat. So if you want more money and there's something in your subconscious saying, no, wait a minute, there's not enough. Like, what do you mean? We can't do that. And you're in that lack mentality. Again, you may not know this consciously, but you'll find it hard. It will feel difficult.
Right.
And so that's not anything necessarily that you're doing wrong. It's just your subconscious said no. And it is, and this is something I forgot to mention, but I'll slip it in. Your subconscious is about 90% of your mind power or more. Like, I'm being very generous when I say 90, because every study I see, that number gets bigger. The biggest I've seen is like 98% of your mind power. We just don't know how much of it is controlling your day to day, but it is.
Well, I think as you get older, it would increase, right? Because you have those patterns that start to arise and get embedded.
Yeah, very possibly. Absolutely. And normally day to day, your conscious and subconscious are working together harmoniously. I don't need to remember how to speak, but I do need to use my conscious to choose the words, and hopefully they make sense. So they do know how to work together, but when you have a goal that starts in the conscious, all goals start in the conscious, it will check in with that critical filter that I mentioned, or the critical mind, which I like to think of as the bouncer at a club, or like the guy with the clipboard at the door. And he will check, if you have a goal, that goal will check in with this guy with the clipboard. And if there's anything on that clipboard that goes against that idea, it's just not getting it. It's not getting in. You can do this with willpower alone, but remember, you're using 5 to 10% of your mind power. Whereas if you were to teach your subconscious that your goal is safe through hypnotherapy or some sort of trance state, right, you are bending time. You're collapsing timelines to make it happen. Your subconscious is always churning out goals for you. It is a goal machine. That's what it does. That's what it knows how to do. So you're, 100% successful at being exactly who you are based off of what your subconscious believes is safe. So if you got to choose what your subconscious believed was safe, what would be possible for you? And that, my friends, is the world I live in. It's very nice here. Right. I'm very happy here.
Well, so then where does
that's just basic hypnotherapy. That's just like, if you have a goal that you want to achieve and your subconscious is saying no, or it feels like there's something in your mind holding you back, that's where hypnotherapy comes in. Now, when we get into spiritual hypnotherapy, that's more of like, yes, of course, goals are important too. I can do it all. But when someone comes to me and says, I want to feel more empowered, I want to be more my authentic self, I want to know my soul, I want to connect to my spirit, I want to know my spirit guides, or I want to meet my counsel, or I want to speak with my loved one who's passed that I never got closure with, or mend a relationship that will never be mended. There are things that I love to do with hypnotherapy that allow those things to happen, that allow the client to go in and really kind of know themselves better at their core. Now, if you come to me for money stuff or relationship stuff, and there's just a fact, a natural side effect that you will know yourself. It's just what's going to happen. But if you come to me specifically for spiritual stuff, or like enhancing your psychic powers, or like if you think you're psychic and you just want to hone in on that stuff, it's really fun to do.
So it's a basic. So what you're saying is it's the same process, the hypnotherapy and spiritual hypnotherapy, but the intentions are different between the two.
So to answer your previous question, with the subconscious, we are going into that part of you that is where all of your automatic beliefs and behaviors live, and teaching it what is safe, so that now the new automatic is you stepping into more abundance, or you finding that great relationship, and whatever the goal is, it will be a natural next step. With the superconscious, we're going, I just visualize it as like going up. Of course, I have no idea, but that's just how I picture it. We're going, instead of going in, we're going up, which is weird because the superconscious, you're kind of doing both, going into like your core being, and then also
I can see
like
what you mean, though.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like superhero, fly up. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's like higher consciousness, higher wisdom, access to all that is, which again, we do in hypnotherapy as well. But with spiritual hypnotherapy, that's kind of how I differentiate. Is like we're accessing the higher whatever, the source, the universe,
higher self, and all of those
Akashic records. You know, there's a lot of different names for it, but yeah, spiritual hypnotherapy is really just the category of like anything about your soul or your spirit that you want to know, anything about your authenticity, anything about your purpose or your abilities or your gifts or anything like that. Your spirit team, that's where we would go more into the spiritual stuff. Past life regression falls in that category as well. Life between lives, future lives, all of that stuff.
Is that soul retrieval? Because I've heard that term used before. Or is that something completely different? I don't want to take us down a different rabbit hole.
I know. That's the thing. There's so many fun rabbits we could chase. There really are.
Yeah.
But soul retrieval, as I understand it. Now, I've never had someone come to me and be like, I want to retrieve my soul. Because I don't know that that's what they know they're doing. But I would say soul retrieval is anytime somebody feels so disconnected that through a process of hypnotherapy or a spiritual awakening of some kind, or any kind of spiritual journey that they might be on, allows them to know themselves and connect to themselves. And there's probably a lot of people listening as well that can attest to the fact that there are times when you felt very disconnected from your core being, or disconnected from your spirit team, or disconnected from your guides. Like something happened, some experience that you have, or maybe a trauma that you have causes that disconnect, or that I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want, I don't know anything, but I know I don't like it. so I would say, yeah, if somebody came to me and said that in so many words, not necessarily I want to retrieve my soul, but they said like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know who I am, I don't know my purpose, and I feel very disconnected, very frustrated, then I don't know that I would even call it a soul retrieval, but it is another natural byproduct of hypnotherapy that no matter what it is you want to feel just really safe today. Let's go into hypnosis and feel really safe today. Let's go to your inner sanctuary and create safety and peace and relaxation and freedom and whatever it is that you need. And little by little, pieces of you come back home until you feel like you.
Right.
And I say this all the time, but I refuse to believe. In fact, I will probably die on this hill. There's a lot of hills that I will die on, but this is one of them. You cannot know yourself. You can't truly know yourself and not love yourself. It just can't. You can't. If you don't love yourself, you just don't know yourself that well. I
That's
really believe that.
You can't be thankful and mad at the same time.
You can't be bored and anxious at the same time. You can't, which is,
No. Yeah. They don't jive vibrationally. So I was just thinking about what you were saying with the soul retrieval and people going, well, I want to retrieve my soul. And you were talking about some instances where that may occur. And I think that for a lot of people, that can happen in relationships. It can happen professionally too, where they're like, you know what, this just isn't resonating with me. And it's not like I'm bored, but we're talking on a soul level or core beliefs and different things like that, where they're doing something that they consider to be amoral, or if they change so much for a person in their relationship, that they no longer recognize who they are. I see that happen frequently.
Yeah, and I think there's always a move, like without swearing.
You can swear.
I can?
We have the
Okay.
the E
Explicit?
rating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we, but I never want to like assume.
Do you want me to do it first?
I think no, because this is important. I think that with any kind of like, I guess if you're going through something and there's always a wake up moment or like a shit or get off the pot moment where you're like, I have to move. I am so uncomfortable that something needs to happen. And we usually don't notice how uncomfortable we are until that point
breaking
happens.
point. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like you could be in a relationship for 5 years and be asleep to the fact that this is not the right relationship for you. And then something happens and one day you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? And I love those moments, not in my life, not at the time, of course, you can't, we're not all knowing, but I love looking back at those moments and being like, wow, what a great moment to really know what I want. Because before that moment, I had no idea. I was just kind of floating along and how I translate that to like the subconscious is like, it's not giving up on you. It just, that's what it knows is keeping you safe right now until you decide it's not.
I also think that that's when, for a lot of people out there, that's when spiritual awakening occurs too, is that moment, that breaking point, right? Where I just can't do this anymore. And it's, for a lot of people, there's some confusion. Sometimes it can feel like a nervous breakdown or a loosening of the grip on reality where you just go, and you had even said sleeping through or, sleepwalking through a relationship for 10, or 15 years or career. Yeah. Same thing. Insert whatever it is in that instance, but it's true. So I find this to be the case with some people, and I don't advocate for divorce. So I'll say that right now. However, I see this happening with people that have a spiritual awakening and they've been in relationships for 15, 25, 30 years. And it's just like, yeah, this isn't working. This isn't me. And it's unfortunate or fortunate, depending upon your point of view, right? That somebody finally realizes that they can be their authentic selves and they can be accepted. And more than that, they can thrive. And I think that that's an important thing for people to realize. And through your practice, I think it allows people to do it maybe without having to do something so drastic, but they can start to, and maybe not. I don't know. That's again, that's another rabbit hole to crawl down. But I think what you do, your service is a valuable service, and it's something that, as we're talking, I personally find extremely interesting from the standpoint that I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I should do that. And out of curiosity, let's say that I wanted to do spiritual hypnotherapy, right? If I wanted to do that, how many sessions are you normally talking before that light bulb turns on or that change starts to occur?
Well, first I would say, what are you hoping to get out of spiritual hypnotherapy?
Okay. So for me personally, I would like,
if you care to share,
I would absolutely, I would love to have more communication with guides, higher self, higher consciousness, that sort of thing that would be, we can talk energy systems, we can talk spiritual frameworks or frequencies. I would want to be more immersed in that on a regular basis. So it isn't just those moments during meditation or something like that I'm able to tap into that, if that makes sense.
Well, and just so you know, if you would have said, I don't know, I'm just curious, that would have been just as valid as well.
Sure. No, I do have specifics that were going through my mind.
Curiosity is a valid reason to do any kind of hypnotherapy. But for the purpose of this conversation, I don't know, when people I can never really tell people like, here's the amount of sessions that it will take, because obviously I don't know.
Sense.
And you know, I know I'm telling you already know. But I will say that most, and this percentage would be in the 90 over 95%, most of my clients see significant change in the direction of what they want after 4 to 6 sessions.
That quickly. That's pretty quick, 6
weeks. I do weekly sessions because I think, especially in the first 3 weeks,
consistency, right?
Yes, you want your subconscious to know that this is happening.
Yeah, right.
And that's the best way to do it, is every week, usually same day of the week, same time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that rigid. That's just what I prefer to do. But within about that amount of time, my most popular program is a 12-week session. It's a pretty, it's the biggest container that I currently have. Mm-hmm. And it is, again, weekly. So 12 weeks of 12 weeks of going inward and discovering and gaining wisdom and meeting people, meeting spirit team, and just knowing more. And it's a pretty magical time. Just before this podcast, I had a session with a client, and I was late to this podcast, so apologies, everyone. But
no
it worked out.
Worries. It did. Absolutely.
But what was so great is that there's a lot of moments that I get to witness, like, how powerful this work is. Every session gives me that opportunity, but this particular session, I was just in awe of, like, just how powerful we are as human beings. I felt like, not just the client absolutely did most of the work in terms of, like, being open and willing to take the journey. But I found myself in this kind of container. The magic is this: when two people get together for the same intention, right? I'm holding your vision the whole time. You are holding your vision the whole time. And it is a very powerful
power
space
in numbers,
to be in.
yeah.
And so as I'm sitting with her and creating her hypnosis, or her script, and writing down what she wants me to kind of say in my way, I found myself writing, and I didn't know what the next word was going to be until it was on the paper. And I've been told so many times, Lynnsey, you need to start doing automatic writing, because apparently that's just what I'm really good at doing. But in my head, I'm like, I don't think I could really be there. I think I would be too in my conscious mind, and I wouldn't let myself be able to, like, see what happens. But today, in that moment, I was like, what is this going to say? Oh, that's good. Like, I know I was channeling. And when I speak to clients, so sometimes cool. I know I'm channeling. And so there's just something that happens that when I'm, talking to my husband and we're bickering about dinner, or, like, real life stuff, right. Something happens when I'm with a client and they're present and open and willing, and I'm getting to, like, unleash my brilliance, if you will, which it does feel like that sometimes.
I'm sure.
But I also know it's not just mine. Like, I know I'm getting
energetic
messages,
exchanges and flow. Yes,
it's an energetic exchange, and I know that I'm getting the message that this client in front of me needs right now. And then it's just today in particular, which is funny that we're talking about this today, but literally today I found myself going, wow, that was powerful. And you do tend to take for granted, because if you let yourself, you'll get used to the magic. And I don't ever want to get used to the magic. I want to be amazed for granted every single time. And so I was actually, today I was like, all right, universe, I see you. That's pretty cool. And I could go on all day, but it really is awesome. The 12-week session, or the 12-week program, is probably my most popular, because I don't really recommend a certain program, but I will present them all to people, and they usually will pick the 12, because it is again the biggest one, and it's the one that allows them to explore all the different areas that they.
I was just going to say, like, probably the most comprehensive and all-encompassing type of program for you. Especially,
it's called the Align Your Mind Method, TM.
Love it.
I just had to plug it for a second.
No, you can plug it all you want, and we will later too. So that's I find that fascinating. And I also find your initial response to the automatic writing not surprising, by the way, especially given your training and your practice. There is an analytical approach that accompanies what you're doing, and there's a set process that occurs. So that makes complete sense to me, where you'd be like, okay, I've got to stay in this process and not allow myself to venture off from it, which would then translate into automatic writing too. You're like, wait a second, no, I've got to pay attention to what's going on versus I'm just going to let go and see what happens.
And I think it is literally because I'm there for someone else. I think that's service, what makes it easier. Yeah. It makes it easier to like let go and just let the message be what it is, because it's not personal to me. And so it can be what it's supposed to be rather than me, like, what is it? Rationalizing it or trying to make it something that it isn't, I don't do that with clients. I just let it be what it is. And it's usually
you're a vessel for what's essentially being channeled either through them or through both of you at that point, because it is a collective. It's a miniature collective. Well, actually, it's not even miniature, especially if you're talking about spirit teams, guides, councils, things of that nature. There's a community of people. It's not just one or two. It turns into a much larger
community.
Yeah.
I always I don't do this every time, but I try to, before each session, I always call in my guides, but I also will try to call in the client's guides and just say, like, let's all work together for the highest outcome of all involved. And let's just make this like the most successful session that it can be. And it hasn't failed me yet, honestly. It is exactly what you're describing. It is a community, because you got their team, you got my team, you got I always call in my gods and goddesses and ancestors and guides and all the angels. Yeah, I call in everybody. Everybody, let's go.
It's time. Let's go. Let's get ready. No, I love that. And as a matter of fact, as a side note, when we're wrapping up today, I want to talk to you more about that, because I'm intrigued by that for myself. So I'd like to do it selfishly. So, or not so selfishly, I suppose. But
I mean, what's wrong with being selfish? And as long as you're not stepping on people, I think we need to take back the word selfish, because we've made it mean something
negative
that I don't think it should. And even my mom, like, my son got a really good grade on a test, and he was telling her, because he was excited, and she was on the phone, and she goes, well, don't brag about it. And I was like, all right, lady, listen.
Yeah. He's proud of that.
Why should he have to dampen his pride because it might make someone else feel a certain type of way? In my head, I'm thinking my ability to recognize my accomplishments is the intention is now you have permission to acknowledge your accomplishments that are different from mine.
Yes. You open the door for that possibility to occur.
Absolutely. Let's all celebrate ourselves. As long as we're not saying I'm better than you because of this, as long as we're not saying you don't matter, but I do. As long as you're not saying that and your intention is good and you're just happy that you were able to accomplish this thing, say it. Say it loud.
Well, there's a healthy ego and an unhealthy ego, right? So that's, in my opinion, that's a healthy ego to have that satisfaction and fulfillment occur after doing something that is meaningful. And it doesn't mean, like you said, I'm better than you because I did well, and maybe somebody else didn't get it, but that doesn't mean that other person isn't really good at something else. So I think the not so good ego piece is when comparison comes in.
Exactly. And look, I completely get that if my kid says in front of the class that he's very proud of himself for getting a test, there's another kid in class that might feel a certain type of way about it. But as adults, I feel like it's your responsibility how you take what is given to you. And if we could learn one thing, I think that would be that. It would be that. Like, A, you are so much more powerful than you've been told. And B, how are you processing the stuff that's given to you, and is it a healthy in a healthy way? If everyone has good intention, then we're good. Then we're all good.
Well, you know what? I think part of the issue is too with adults, with some adults, not all, obviously, but with some adults, they're stuck in
Yes.
the childhood way of processing those things,
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
don't mature or level up or ascend, whatever you'd like to use in that instance. But that happens, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when he's bragging. He's bragging.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, so what, you bragger? No, I'm just saying that I feel good about myself for doing that. And self-care is not selfish, and I guess it would be in that category. That's not a selfish thing.
And let me just level with everybody. I have those moments too. Still to this day, I will have moments where I'm like comparing myself, or if somebody comes on and is super proud of themselves, sometimes, most of the time I'm good because I still I have the consciousness of like, wow, look at them. That's great. But there are moments, weaker moments where I'm like, what does it mean about me if they can do this?
But that's natural, right?
It's natural. So yes, it is natural. And then also, I then take that as an opportunity to be like, why am I making this about me at all? Why does this have to mean something about me?
Yeah.
And what can I do to feel better about this and be happy for this person? Because why are we trying to bring each other down ever? Really? Ever?
Well, and I think that just shows that you have leveled up to or ascended to a different level, and you can recognize things that are past triggers that still resurface from time to time. And again,
100%.
I think something important with all of this is never to forget that we are human. We're here, even though we may be celestial or spiritual bodies in a human suit, that's okay because you're here.
Well, and remember,
not ascended.
Remember what I said about when your subconscious forms.
Right. Correct. Yes.
We're 9-year-olds walking around looking like adults. It's okay to feel how you feel. You're going to feel all kinds of ways. That's why we're here. And I say, that's why we chose to come here, is to feel it all. We didn't come here for easy. We didn't come here to just live on a high pedestal at level 100 and just get everything we want the second we want it.
Right.
Probably you came on a different planet. That's not this one. This one we came to learn. We came to, as you said, level up and ascend and to feel all the moments. And hopefully a lot of them are good. And the only way you can feel the good is to have the contrast. You'd never know what joy felt like unless you felt the opposite. So another thing I hope for this episode is that people really embrace all the moments, because they are really that's the fuel, is letting yourself feel everything and process everything in a healthy way and not try to ignore it, stuff it down, shove it down. Because I see firsthand the result of that when clients come to me and they're like, well, I've never been allowed to feel. Oh, well, let's go. Let's start there.
Yeah. Well, that's a big one to take on there.
It's a big one. Yeah. It's a journey, but it's one I'm happy to help with because it's just so important.
Well, let's talk really quickly then, unfortunately, but I love what we're talking about, by the way. So incorporated in that then is the past life regressions. So what type of benefits or what are you finding that people are typically looking for when they say, you know what, I'd really like to have a past life regression?
Well, the main 2 reasons, there's probably more, but the ones that I see are I don't know where this pattern is coming from, and this might be a possibility. Or B, I'm just curious. And the people that are just curious, because when there's a pattern, there's a level of expectation of like, I want to go back to a life where this was prominent, where this maybe started, so that I can heal it and process it. But I always say, yes, we can have that intention, and also trust your subconscious, your superconscious to know exactly what you need today. Usually they're both one and the same. What you need and is usually what the intention is, but not always. And so if you do have an intention for the past life, that's great. We can direct the subconscious to do that, or the superconscious. I'm going to use them synonymously just for the sake of this conversation. Sure. But
there is a difference in practice, but
yeah, not enough.
Not
enough for this. Yeah. So there is that. And then also if you just come to me and you're like, I just really want to know, like for me, it's always been curiosity.
Sure.
Always, because I'm just hungry for knowing myself more at any given opportunity.
Right.
And so when I was able to do the past life regressions, it ended up being, oh, that's why I didn't drive till I was 24. That's why I have this fear of XYZ. And it just kind of fits. Even if you're just curious and you have no intention. Yeah.
Can I tell you, a friend of mine, she calls it dimension hops or dimension regressions. So that was interesting. And I was her first person to do it with her. I mean, she was practiced it, went through the coursework with her mentor who recently passed, Pat Longo, in June. But
I think we talked about Pat last time.
Yeah, she was just an amazing soul, just an amazing person.
Wow.
Loved her to death. In the short time I had to spend with her, it was life-changing. But my friend Heather went through this, and she brought me back into a life where I committed suicide from jumping from a building. And I had never realized where my irrational fear of heights came from. You know, and everybody's got I'm not saying walk out onto a beam on the top of a skyscraper and see if you're afraid. Well, you better be, right? Or if you're not, man, oh man, are you something? But it was like climbing up a ladder. My hands would start to sweat, and my palms would start sweating, and I get this shaky feeling inside. Even if I were watching a movie, same thing would happen. And then since that regression, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And I don't have that same feeling any longer, which you talk about a healing, I suppose that would be it. But I guess I would think about it, but never really think about why I was had this irrational fear. But it came out, and it was like, okay, got it, move on, or move through, whatever you want to say. So it was pretty cool.
Do you know the cool thing about that is that we were just talking about processing your emotions and your feelings, and when you said that, it brought something to mind, which is the only reason that you're feeling it at all is because it has a message. It's a messenger. It has a message for you. Mm-hmm. Whether the message is just, hey, hear me, I'm here, look at me, pay attention. And then once you do and you can acknowledge it, it is so much easier to be able to process it. Now, you can do this with a past life regression. You could do this if I put you in hypnosis and just said, hey, let's talk to this fear of heights for a second. And you got the result that way. Great. But isn't it just more fun to do a past life? Yes.
Hell yes.
Absolutely it is. And now you have a very unique perspective. Well, you do. You have an interesting perspective too, because usually when I'm talking about this, I'm trying to describe it as someone who's been through it, but also as a practitioner. So it's hard to be like, just trust me, guys, it's great. But can you actually help me describe the feeling? Because for how I describe it is you are in the moment, but it feels like you're almost both. Watching it on a movie.
Yes.
That's the level of detachment, but you are also experiencing it, but you also know you're in the room with the therapist.
You're exactly right. So in this regression, I had the option to be a participant or a viewer and or both. And at any point in time when I did not feel safe, I could pull myself back and just watch.
Yes.
And it started with look down at your feet. Mm-hmm. Where are you? And, what type, do you have shoes on? What time frame, different things of that nature. I'm in the process of writing a book, and really had finished it and going back through the developmental edits. And I asked Heather, because she recorded it, can you send me the recording so I can go through it again and describe it? And it was really interesting because she said, do you have a reference of time? 1930s. Do you know exactly when? Yes, 1932. And going through everything, what are you wearing? Wool, a darker brown wool suit, dress shoes, and I'm standing on top of this building. And so it was amazing to me to have that. Yes, because, I'll be the first to say that I am not a history buff. So I'm not reading about the Great Depression or the stock market in, 1929, collapse and all of those different things. I don't do that. My interest
is that what happened?
Well, so it was in the Great Depression, and it was one of those things that, yes. So as a result of me trying to make everyone's lives better through this investment stage, everything was lost, and I couldn't bear the fact that I lost everything for everyone else that I was responsible for, their futures, their lives. And it was like, okay, my contract was to do something different than that, and it wasn't going to be able to make it possible. So my choice was then to exit. And
that's cool.
It's
weird to say it's cool, but I love all of this.
No. And the really interesting thing about this, and again, here's the other thing. I'm not a religious person. I'm definitely a spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person. So I can't quote chapter and verse or anything of that nature. So I don't even try, right? So the one thing that I do know is that the churches, especially from the Catholic Church, no offense towards Catholics or anything like that, but I do know that it's part of what is said to these people. Because I have a friend whose sibling committed suicide, and they were told that they wouldn't go to heaven. They didn't even want to have the service at a Catholic church because of that, the cause of death being suicide. And the thing that I found out through this was that suicide is not your, showstopper from ascension.
Yeah.
And because if it were, then I wouldn't be here again. And even before that, there was something that was quite remarkable in the previous life. And what I was told through Heather, who is an angel intuitive and channels Archangel Michael amongst others, was that it was Jesus who was telling through Michael to tell me through Heather, this was to show you that that's not the way it is. And that doesn't prevent you from getting into heaven. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, and you can keep going.
Yeah.
And you have another chance, and you have another opportunity to learn that lesson.
Yes, and that's kind of where I was hoping you were going. Because as I understand it, it's like suicide isn't like a punishment. You don't necessarily get punished, but once you do head over to the other side, you're like, oh wait, I gotta do it again now. It's like you walked out on the test. You're still gonna have to take the test.
I fucked up. I gotta go back. Right.
But I do appreciate your reasoning, because the way that you said it was like that my contract, meaning your soul contract, I assume,
correct,
was to go a certain direction, and you realize that at this moment, your higher self in that moment realized, oh, this is not going to get there. So let's just clean slate. Let's start again.
Yep. Reset button. Yeah.
Reset. Yeah. Which I know that anyone who's had like a loss like that, it sounds flippant for us to be talking about it like this, but I hope that if anybody is listening and hears these words and can understand, like, it's not a punishment. We get to choose our entrance and our exit.
Yes.
And somehow just knowing that I have more say and that my soul knows better than I do, it feels amazing. It feels so much better than thinking I'm just.
There's consolation in knowing that.
There is yes, exactly. And I have family members who have exited that way. And recently,
me
like
as well.
last year, I had someone I knew do that. And I immediately was like, come on, man, really? Like, that was my
was it that
initial
bad?
reaction.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, really? Because, he left behind a whole family. And it's like,
Yeah.
I can't begin to be on the level or understand the kind of pain you must be going through in order to think that that is your only option. And I completely hold space for that. But I do look at it differently from like, if it happens in my life and I know somebody, I'm just like, really, man? Okay. I feel like that is just how I am now with death in general. I do not view it as an ending. I do not view it necessarily as any kind of, a little bit of a change, but not a complete disconnect. Like, when my grandma died, immediately in my head, I was like, well, I can talk to her more now. Because I'm so bad on the phone. I don't call people. And I know it's funny, but she is that kind of person. So I know that she's probably laughing at me when I say that, but it's true. Like, I just view it differently now. Fully knowing that if anything happened to my family in my house, I would freak out. I know that. And it's a natural thing to do. But I also have such a peace about that kind of thing now that I think that that's why I can talk about it. Plus, I do past lives, and I know this isn't the last time. My co-host in the podcast is always like, well, you can always just do it in your next life. And I'm like, okay, but still, like, we don't want to
Don't make it that easy, right? Yeah, it's not a video game.
I mean, yeah. So there's a balance, right? There's like there's a nice line that you want to walk with, like being okay and having peace with it, and then also enjoying every moment that you have here while you're here. That I think is it's a nice place to be.
100% agree with that.
We just got off topic again. We were talking about past lives.
Well, I mean, it's part of it, though. I mean, but here's the thing. With all of this, the subject matter, I can talk about this. This could be a 24-hour podcast. It could be 24/7, because once you start these conversations, I think the fascinating thing about it is, and it's also part of the spiritual awakening process, where you're seeking and questioning, and the more answers you receive brings more questions. And it is so true, even in this conversation, because we're not talking about, what time's dinner? We're talking about things that have so many different facets to it, that each one of those facets can go miles and miles.
When you're talking about the universe, the conversations are as infinite as the universe.
That's what I was going to say. They're limitless. And
limitless.
And that is so true, which is why I guess I don't tire of these types of conversations, because, you mentioned at the very beginning, kids are sponges. Even though I may be an old soul, I am still so curious.
Yeah.
Not about necessarily my life and my perspective as it relates to these things, as I am more about yours. And then that just leads more thought-provoking questions. And, well, what about this? Oh, that's interesting. But if this happens, then this. What about this? That's just how my mind works, especially after having an awakening. But I think even more using this medium, where I get to meet so many incredible people that are so interesting. And I always find them to be far more interesting than I am, which is why I want to hear what you have to say. My perspective is, I go, whatever, but yours, let's talk about it, So I really do enjoy this, and I'm fortunate to be able to be in the position to do these things. And I'm very thankful. So everybody out there, thank you. Thank you for listening, liking, subscribing, all of those things, downloading these shows, because it gives me an opportunity to meet more and more people like Lynnsey. And that's a fantastic thing. What I'd like to do, and I know, damn it, it's we're running out of time, but I'd like to go to the musical questions if we can. Okay. Is that cool
absolutely.
with you? And I'm sorry for the abrupt change or
We're going to take a
changing
hard left into
directions.
music.
Yeah, usually I'd like to have a better segue into that.
How do you segue from jumping off a building in 1930 to like, what's your favorite secret pleasure song?
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
You can't.
What's your guilty pleasure song?
What's your guilty pleasure song? But if you
Jump by from Van Halen. Sorry, guys.
If you have a few minutes after we do the music questions, I have a really crazy past life regression story.
I would love to. Let's do that.
Anybody wants to know it? It's very weird.
Okay, so it's musical question time. Woo! This is the part of the show where I talk about music being the tide that binds everyone together. And I believe that everyone has a soundtrack that accompanies their life if they just take a moment to think about it. So we're going to jump right on into this. What was the first song you fell in love with from the radio?
Well, the first song I can remember like singing and bopping to in the backseat of the car was Blame It on the Rain by Milli Vanilli.
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, I sang that song more than they ever did because they never even sang it.
That's right.
So
those lip syncers.
Yeah, when I found that out, I was still a kid because it wasn't that long until people realized it. But I was still a kid, but I was like, oh man.
You know what's funny though? There are so many performers that do that now. It's almost
they lip sync, but they don't lip sync to someone else's voice.
No, that's true. Which is
I
true.
think what they're guilty of, if I remember. Yes, they'll like do. Yeah. Anyway, it was like the first thing I'd ever heard of. Like how did they get away with that? And why are they famous? Like I was asking all kinds of questions. Like what are they? How did they
look
do
the
this?
part? They look the part.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the first one. I still like it, but there's a little bit of a sticky part to it.
A little twist on there.
Yeah.
Did your family have a song that everyone would belt out on road trips when you're growing up or vacations?
No, because my parents divorced when I was really young and they were miserable. For the most part. So no belting in the car, but I do remember my dad was, I remember my dad would always, like, on the weekends, he would blast Alice Cooper or, like, Pink Floyd or Jim Croce. Is it Croce?
Yeah, Croce, yeah. Holy shit, what a mix.
Yeah, or Jimmy Buffett is another
one.
He would just blast and clean dirt on the weekends. And my mom was a Crystal Gale lady. Crystal Gale, Barbra Streisand. Yeah, but they were never together, so I don't know. Like, we never really did road trips either. But if we were in the car, we would probably be listening to like my dad's music, which is
that's cool,
classic rock.
Yeah, I love
which
that.
Which is now like antique rock because rock that I grew up with is now classic rock. So I don't even know what they're calling my dad's rock anymore.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Garage sale rock.
Vintage rock.
Yeah, vintage. Hey, if it's old, it's vintage, right? I'm vintage. So, what was your favorite song you and your friends would belt out in your senior year of high school?
Oh my gosh, anything by like Nelly, who's a rapper. Eminem. I grew up in Michigan, so it's definitely Eminem at the time. Yeah, I'd probably say or NSYNC because that's a big one.
Oh yeah.
I'm still an NSYNC girl. Still.
Bye.
I will. Yes. I will forever be an NSYNC girl. Can I go back to the previous question because this is a really great way for me to I guess showcase how different it can be. So my family, the one I created with my children and my husband, we do belt out songs in the car.
Excellent.
If I may, and It's always Hamilton. It's always the Hamilton soundtrack. It's our favorite thing to listen to when we're on any kind of long road trip. And if it ends, we just restart it and do it again.
Oh my goodness.
That's
so cool.
Hamilton. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So yeah,
my mom
I
was like that too.
Yeah, my parents didn't, but you better believe I do with my kids.
You know what? I'm a firm believer in that because music and the vibration that comes from it, and there's fun and there's smiles, and then you laugh, and it's
It's just a nice time, and it's a time when they don't have to be with their nose stuck in an iPad or something. We all need to do something together. So it's nice.
I love that. No, that's wonderful, and thank you for doing that, because I would typically add when somebody says no, it could be now, or it could be with your friends when you're in college or something like that. You went on a road trip on spring break, but no, I appreciate that.
I'm going to just add it anyway. That's right.
No, that's perfect. Come on in. So did your musical taste change after high school and when you were in college?
Yes. Yeah. So I remember a very specific change. So again, in high school, it was like rap, and it was like pop, and the rock at the time was like Limp Bizkit or like Korn with a K, or Marilyn Manson. And it's just not my vibe, really. So I kind of skipped all that. And then after, I was more a pop girl. And then after I got into college, I noticed myself listening to like Maroon 5, the first album, which is the best one. Maroon 5, Jason Mraz, like singer-songwriter, James Morrison, James Bay, any James. It's good. And then now, like in my I'm 40, but I'm going to still say late 30s era. And I find myself listening to, especially if I'm in my office and I want to get like in the spiritual vibes. It's so funny because this is the music I used to make fun of. And you'd see commercials for it and you'd be like, oh, that's such old people music. But now I love to listen to like Enya and like Celtic women.
Get out of town.
I really do. I do. And it's not really a guilty pleasure because I just really like it, but it's just funny the contrast of like what I also will like. Like I'll listen to Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, all of the
That's a
90s.
Sharp left turn.
It is. And then I'll just jam out to Caledonia by Celtic Women. Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's something about that that's ethereal, and it just like floats on a breeze, their voices and how that echoing or it's interesting to me because I think of some of those songs like Scotland when they used to communicate through yelling or something like that from mountaintop down, and it'd be that echo, and you'd have to wait, and then you get the response coming back. And so that's what it reminds me of with that music. It really does sends it out and comes back.
It transports me to like what I think are my soul yearns for my past lives in like Celtic Britain, like before Rome invaded, that kind of Britain. I think that's where I come from.
The Druids.
Exactly. No, you're not exactly the Druids. I believe I was a Druid. I spoke to the trees and the trees spoke back. And I still try.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with the little tree wisdom, in my opinion.
No. So the Positive Juices song, is there a song that gets your positive juices flowing? Is it the Enya type of, or is it more upbeat?
I'm going to interpret positive as like, I'm going to take on the world today.
Exactly.
That's kind of, it gets me pumped up. And that is probably Boudica by Enya. It's a very but it's because I know the story of Boudica that makes me like, what is it called? It gets me fired up for like, nothing's going to stand in my way because she didn't let anything stand in her way.
No, I love that. No, that's a great way to frame that. What about a guilty pleasure song?
Boudica by Enya. I don't know about guilty pleasure because...
Or one that you go, yeah, this one's just for me. I don't want anybody else to hear it from my playlist.
I'm trying to think of a song that, like, if somebody came in, I would change it or, like, pretend like I was listening to something else.
Oh, how did that get on there?
No, because now that I have kids, I'm like, you know who you need to listen to? Hanson. You know who you need to listen to?
Hanson. Oh, my God.
Eminem. I got it all. Not really. Yes, NSYNC, obviously, but there's nothing I really would like that I wouldn't want everyone to know is a good song. It's a good song. You should hear it. And I'll just make them listen to it.
Hanson.
Remember Hanson?
Yeah, I do.
They were great.
I do.
They're still around. They're doing I think they're on tour. Or they were on tour recently.
I saw that. It's funny that you mentioned that. I get music periodicals, and I think they're on a reunion tour or something right now. Like, I don't know if it's a 20-year or reunion tour type of thing.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's doing reunions. It's a good
cool,
time.
though.
But yeah, I don't really know. I really, really can't think of one, but I will email you. The listeners won't know probably because this will have already aired or whatever, but I do want to know for myself if there is one. So you'll know if I know. I just really don't think that there's anything, because I brag about my music, even if it's stupid. I'm like, no, you just should like it.
No, listen to it. You're going to like it. No,
you
listen to it again.
It's good. Yeah.
I love that.
So maybe that's, I don't know how that sounds, but I don't think I do. I don't know. Do people have guilty pleasure songs?
Yeah, I do.
What is yours?
I've got a couple of them.
Give me one.
Okay.
You have to.
Okay. I've got two, and it's one of them is kind of like your In Sync, and it's the Backstreet Boys. Everybody.
Oh my gosh, you're a Backstreet girly?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Girly. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll take that.
I give it as a compliment. I promise.
Yeah, and Taylor Swift, Shake It Off. I love that song for some reason. And I think why I love it is I remember seeing there was a show that had stars lip syncing, and The Rock did he did Shake It Off, and he was dancing around. And
first of all, I love that show. I know that show. What you're talking about?
You know what I'm talking. I forget the name of it.
It's called Lip Sync Battle.
Oh, was that okay?
Lip Sync Battle. Is it hosted by LL Cool J?
Yes.
Yeah. I love that show. It's great.
It was awesome seeing him do that, because he was just like, I'm going to do this female vocal song, and I don't give a shit, and he was just. He was dancing like nobody was watching, even though there were a lot of people watching. I love that. I don't give a shit. I'm going to do what I'm going to be me. And that's just,
that's the vibe. That's the vibe in 2025 and 2026 for me. I don't care anymore.
Well, you know what? It's mine too, moving forward over the past few years. I'm just going to be me. If you don't dig it, that's cool.
Well, and I find that feelings. When I feel the most disconnected, when I feel like my life is just not going wrong, but you know what I mean? Like there's a desync of what I want and what I'm living. And it's usually when I'm trying to fit into so many different boxes that just don't fit. And including when I started my business, I learned a very clinical way. Clinical. You wear the white coat, you wear the name tag, you keep yourself out of the room, and it's all about the client, and you are stoic, and you ask questions, and you be respectful, and you be professional. And I was like, how am I ever going to get any business this way? Like, this feels wrong to me. And the second that I started, and it works for some people, it absolutely does, but for me, I was like, I don't know about this. So I started just being more, I don't
authentic.
Know, me.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that means. I would crack jokes. I would be silly. I would, do what I wanted. Like started doing more spiritual hypnotherapy and pulling cards in sessions for clients and doing card readings.
That's wonderful.
And I found things exploding. So exploding and expanding. And so the second you stop trying to fit into boxes and stop caring is usually when everything starts to bloom.
It clicks. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the last question, and yes, please do email me your list, because then I'll have everything. Sometimes there are songs that you hear that ring so true that they can stop you in your tracks. In the song's lyrics sound like they were written specifically for you or by you. What's that song?
Okay, there is a song, I just can't remember the name to it. I can't remember what it's called.
Well, sing it.
I can't, because okay, here's the situation. It was a couple years ago, and somebody was like, you need to listen to this song. And I pressed play, and it got me to the point where I was, this is vulnerable right now, what I'm about to admit. I found myself in the fetal position on the floor, bawling my eyes out at this song.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, it's happening. In my brain, I was like, it's happening. I'm feeling things, and whatever needs to happen is coming out right now. Like I knew I was processing some stuff that had needed to be processed for a long time, and it took that song. And I wish I could remember the name of it. But I do have a close runner-up of a song that I listened to a lot right before. I'm going to send you the name once I find that song too. And that one
Please.
you can send to your listeners because I think a lot of people probably need that also. Please don't expect to be on the floor, but that's just what happened to me. That's just what happened to me.
We're going to hold you to that. It wasn't in a fetal position.
I didn't feel anything. It's just certain songs. But the second runner-up, I think, would probably be Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson. Right before I moved.
What an amazing voice.
There was a time in my life where within a space of 6 months, I had a spiritual awakening. I had moved to California by myself and quit everything I thought I knew and just started over. And I was 20 years old. And that song was the thing that kept me knowing that it was the right decision. The feeling in that song Breakaway is I want to experience life. I want to get out of this, I think she said small town or whatever, which I was growing up in a small town. And now I'm back in the same small town and I appreciate it 100 times more than I did when I was 20. I'll tell you that much. But I think it took me leaving to experience and find out who I am and to do all the things that I wanted to do. And then, have my kids and realize how great it was to be here and move them back here, only probably to have them say the same thing and get out. But I think because they were born in a big city, they might appreciate a small city better. But anyway, that song really got me through and allowed me to be optimistic and to be hopeful and to really embrace the journey that I was on, because otherwise I think I would have been really scared.
Well, and that's the thing about music. And that's why it's such an important thing, because, well, think about it. People listen to music. Some people listen to music in meditation. Some people listen to music to go to sleep. Some people for a variety of reasons, right? That's why I feel that music belongs, period. Yeah. It belongs. Yeah. And without it, think about what life would be without music.
Okay.
Well, it's just about time to cue the music for today's episode, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Drop the Needle podcast to stay up to date on our latest episodes. I would also like to take a moment to thank everyone again for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Drop the Needle podcast. I would also like to thank our very special guest, Lynnsey Robinson, for joining us today. Lynnsey, how can people get in touch with you to schedule sessions?
Well, you can find me on Instagram or TikTok, or I have a website, but I'm currently transitioning, so maybe that's not the best link to do. I would, but I do have a link tree, like a Beacons page I can send you so that they can apply to be a client and get in touch with the podcast. I have a podcast called High Vibe in It. I have a membership, an app even. It's its own app called Align Your Mind. You can look it up on iOS and download it, or do the mobile browser if you have an Android. And whether it's working with me personally or getting the app and accessing my work that way, or just finding me on social media and saying hi, I look forward to connecting with you in whatever way I can to support.
Okay, so then please send me your link tree. Okay, so I can put that in the show notes.
I will do. It's got pretty much everything you'll need in there.
Fantastic. I invite you all to head on over to the show notes, where there's going to be a link to the playlist from today's episode, as well as the link tree to get in touch with Lynnsey there so you can book a session. All right, my Drop the Needle posse, like Billy Joel says, from the highs to the lows to the end of the show, this is the end of our show. Until next time, this is Jim Alstott wishing you infinite health and happiness and the perfect playlist for your life. Thank you again for being the best part of us. Catch you next time.